Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is Sue, the Soggy Stamper, and I'm here this Friday afternoon at 3 o'clock to show you another technique. This one is the chalkboard technique. It's a simple technique, but it's kind of fun to do, especially if you like being messy. That's what I'm going to have for you today. Hi, Trish. It's good to see you. Hope everybody in your family is doing well. I'm going to go ahead and get started. I welcome those of you who are watching after the live thing is over. And thank you so much for watching the video. I'm glad that they're doing well, Trish. So I'm going to turn the camera down and let's get started. So there's several different cards I have made using this technique. This card was made using the Nothing is Sweeter Than stamp set. I particularly wanted to use this with the blackboard technique because it looks to me like it is a sign that would be found in a coffee shop. So I used a variety of colors on this one, but I'll go back to that after I have showed you the technique. Another card that I have done is with the poinsettia petals to make a Christmas card. I added a bow to that and some of the poinsettia place DSP. And this is the card that we are going to make. Now, to make this card, you need have a hoot stamp set. And, I used this little cute little owl right there, and have a hoot on Halloween. Then you're going to need scraps of basic black cardstock, and you need a piece of 11 by 4 1/4. This one is Flirty Flamingo. Gosh, now I don't remember exactly what the color is. And it's 8.5. It's 11 by 4 1/4 because originally this one I made with a side fold with 8.5 by 5.5. But it's harder to get it embossed because when you run it through the embossing folder, like I did on this one, this is Calypso Coral. This is the Flirty Flamingo. But when you run it through the embossing folder, you have to fold it over. You put it in, and then you have to fold it over because you still have to put the embossing folder through the big shot with the hinge first. So it makes it a little harder to make a nice fold. After I made this one, I then thought, oh wait, if we do it the other direction, the 8.5, the 11 by 4 1/4, you can place it in the embossing folder, just like that, and run it through. And then you can still have a nice fold here at the top. And the embossing folder I used was the Dainty Diamonds embossing folder. It's one of the new ones in the annual catalog. Just for a little bit of texture on the back, on the base of the card. Okay, so you stamp your image using the craft white ink. And then you have to let it dry a bit. So I went ahead and stamped these images ahead of time. And then you take a sponge and very sponge dauber and very carefully tap off a little bit of it, and then you just kind of smear it around to make it look like the background, like the blackboard has been erased. But you know how it is, you can't quite get all the erasing off the blackboard unless you actually wash it. So you just kind of rub it in and burnish the white craft ink like that. And we'll do it again on this one. So it's good to dab off a bit because you can get it really, really darker than you want. But if you rub good and hard, you can kind of smear it around. So that's the first step. After you have your ink, the stamped image has dried, you do that. And then you color with markers. I've tried it with both the standard marker and the alcohol ink markers, and I like the alcohol ink ones better. So then you color the white over the white ink. And color your image in so that it looks like you used ink, chalk that was the color, that color. So I drew the tree with light cinnamon cider chalk. And I had a little bit of trouble seeing the image on this card that I made with the coffee one, because I used, up here at the top it says today's plan, consume. But since I used a darker ink on it, it was a little hard to read it. So you have to be kind of careful how dark your ink is and how light it is. And then I wanted to have the owl be not quite white, so I am using light crumb cake for the owl. There. And I'm going to leave the greeting this way so that it's easy to read. The next step I'm going to do is cut out the stamped images, and I'm using the Stitched So Sweetly dies. These are my go-to dies. I love them, love them, love them. The owl fits, this die cuts the owl just perfectly. A little trick that I do with my dies that I kind of like is I get magnetic sheet and I put it on the cardstock that comes with the dies, and one side I put that on, and then I have taken to tearing the stamp, cut, and emboss paper in half and putting it on the back side so that when you pull it out, you've got it all in one piece. And it makes it much easier because you can just slide it in. Up, well, like that. Just slide it in like that. I also found that putting the dies on the solid side instead of the flap side is better, because when you go to do this to seal it like that, if you've got dies sitting there, it's easy to just place the dies. So I will take just a short break and cut these out on the big shot and be right back. The color is still not quite as much as I want on the tree, so I'm going to try the dark cinnamon cider and see if that brings the color out better. Well, it makes it a little browner, but makes it also a little harder to see, I think. There. Okay, on the sample card, this one, I used this trim from Playful Pets, but I don't really like the way I did this. And up here at the top, the embossing kind of didn't get clear up, and I want to make sure I have the up side up there. So I will be tying, tie this around a couple of times around the top. Sorry about the barking dogs. I guess that's just the way it is when you have dogs. I have a dachshund, a couple of dachshunds who have very sharp ears and very sharp sense of smell, and we have no clue sometimes what they are smelling or hearing, but they have to go defend the property against it. This baker's twine is a little bit, you know, I need a little trick that I learned is to put a glue dot where you want your knot. So you put the glue dot there, and then that holds your knot tight.
We enjoy ourselves, but I won't be taking the trailer back in there. I've got it in the shop, getting some repair work.
Tie your knot so that that first part so that you have your hands free
Well,
to do the second one.
the road turns in after, for about the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 miles is essentially a one-lane road. It had been paved at one time, but it's been patched and broken and patched and broken and
Like that.
patched. But it's real narrow.
Okay, and then I'm going to just add the rest of the elements with glue dot, with Stampin' Dimensionals.
They don't have up very high. So when I was driving down the road, even in the, in the middle of that one-lane road, I had branches, scraping the top of my trailer. And I had one of them cut a slit in the membrane, so it
Trish, you know that Stampin' Up! Has a new die cutting machine. And have you actually bought the new one? I haven't. I'm going to hold off on that one. But when the mini, that's half the size of the die cutting machine, is available, I'm going to be getting that because it works perfectly for bringing in to your view to do the die cutting right here on the video taping, so that you don't have to actually leave your work area and leave people hanging. So there you have it. Have a hoot on Halloween and kind of a cool little Halloween card. I like these owls. The whole set has a pumpkin. It has, which I really love, is this one here, all together, the two owls kind of under the mistletoe, and it says, "Owl I want for Christmas is you." And then the group of owls say, "Merry Christmas," and then from all of us. So it's a really useful set that you could use lots of times. And then this cute little owl is pulling his wing over his face. So there's that one. Now on the little tip on the coffee, cookies, and chocolate, what I did for that one was to line up the stamps rather. So I put them face down on the grid paper and lined it so that it was even. And the cookies, or cocktails rather. And get that lined up.
Yeah, well, I did.
And then the cookies.
The other thing about it is too, was Ronnie Sue and Joe had been up there a month before, only they were across the river on another campground on the other side, and they did say we
Like
could
that.
get our trailer in.
And then you put it all down on your block at one time. Yoo-hoo! So that it's all lined up, and all you have to do is just ink it up and stamp it. And that way you get even spacing, you don't have to guess. So that's a little trick I did there. The coloring on this, I used dark magenta madness for the cup. I used this cinnamon cider for the chocolate, and for the coffee I used a light blue. Dark balmy blue. And the greeting there was also used with the dark magenta madness. I wish that I had left it white so that you could read it better. I used a little bit of the Ornate Garden DSP on the back to add a little bit of brightness to it, and this is Granny Apple Green cardstock. And then on the poinsettia, I used light Poppy Parade for the flower. I used a little bit of the yellow. This was Mango Melody, dark Mango Melody. And for the leaves, I used the light shaded spruce and left the greeting. No, I think I used shaded spruce on the greeting too. And this beautiful ribbon is from the All the Trimmings Ribbon Combo Pack. And it has Poppy Parade red, and it has an old olive green with the gold edge on it. So there you have it. This is the Chalkboard Technique. Fun to do, fairly quick, and kind of a little bit unique. I hope that you enjoyed this presentation, and I'll have it up on YouTube probably tomorrow, so that you can watch it again without having to search through all the Facebook things. So at any rate, thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, you can email me, sue@soggystamper.com. My phone number is 907-401-0192. I encourage you to check out my blog, soggystamper.com, and if you need any supplies, shop Creations by Sue at stampinup.net. I appreciate your business. And so have a wonderful afternoon and evening, and we'll talk to you again next week at 3 o'clock on Friday. Have a good day. Bye-bye.